in reality, I started when I was 13 years old. I was very, very young. My mom had to lend me the organization number because I wasn't even allowed to have a company. Have, like Eminem says in the songs, if you get one chance, will you catch it or will you let it slip? Because that I've seen many times. It's like artists that you got the chance, but you let it slip. And you know it's all over. You have to meet people when they're small, make them some favors and then keep them going.
You're listening to Echoes of Prague Music Week.
So hello and welcome to today's podcast on artists, brands and global events. My name is Kristina Kratochvilova and I am pleased to introduce our guest, Peter Åstedt, who has over 30 years of experience in the music industry. He began with his own label, Dead Folk Records, at the age of 15 and has since worked extensively in music distribution, branding and artist showcases worldwide. Thank you for joining me, Peter.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
So we had a little chat before we got here. So before I get to my questions that I prepared beforehand, you told me that you and your team see 10,000 bands a year.
Yeah.
And we had a little chat about how to impress you. And I just can you just tell, is it how to impress you? Is it even possible to impress you nowadays?
I mean, the thing is that it's also that our team handles big merchandise before we have sold that company now. But so before we actually did the biggest shows in Sweden, like 240 shows a year with merch, and so we saw every show there was almost. So in the end of it, I mean, when you saw the fans going from the show, they always like, yeah, this is the best show ever, and you yourself went in there and like, oh yeah, well, it was okay. But at the same time, when you were blown away, you were blown away. This happens, but yeah, I've seen so many shows nowadays. It's tough. You get blasé after a while, you do, which is kind of sad because you want to be like, but then the times when you're really seeing something that is like this is the thing, then you go for it. It's a part of the professional part. You know, yeah, it's easier to impress your local audience than it is to meet the professionals. Definitely. And but even our team, I mean, in the beginning, when you train someone new, now I trust my people I have out there, but I had to train them because otherwise they would be like, oh, this is perfect. But in the end of it, you need that thing that sticks out so much that it can make a huge career. So, yeah, this is a main problem right now with the industry. It's like people are sending around artists. I was in another country, I won't say where I was, but a week ago, and they presented local artists. And they were nice. They were really nice. It was like local punk artists, and it was fun to see. But the problem is that I can find 20 of these in Sweden. So why should I pick up a band from their country? They have to stick out so much that they beat out the Swedish before I can work with it. So yeah, there you go.
Did any Czech artist caught your eye?
So far, not. I mean, there are some good Czech artists. I mean, I had Aiko, that's one. She played on my festival 2 years ago. This year we had Pam Rabbit, which did a great show. But it's more or less like they are on their way. If they keep on going, they're probably going to be that. Right now, I mean, they end up against competition of artists from 25 other countries, then it's going to be tough. Usually, yeah, it depends on. But both of them did very well. And there was what was the other name of was it not a Czech Republic band? No. Now I don't remember. Was it Elephant something? We had at least over 6 or 7 Czech artists over the years. On my festival before that, we probably had over 25, 30. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And with the years of experience you have, can you maybe tell me what band really, really impressed you? Like, do you still have, can you still recall the moment when you were just like, fuck, this is the best thing I've ever saw? And I'm sorry that I said fuck.
I mean, there are moments when you're more or less. Then, of course, if you're a super fan, I'm a super fan of the Ramones. And of course, when I saw it, but then it's because I'm a super fan of the band. So I don't count that. But if the thing that impressed me probably the most was out of the blue, we were working with Tina Turner and we went in and saw, and she was amazing. I mean, back then, this is at least 10 years more than that. She was probably 70 years old, and she had more clothes changing than Beyoncé. And she was running on a plank out in the audience in high heels. I couldn't run that with even normal shoes, and she's doing it with high heels. And she's 70 years old, and she's super professional, and the songs are perfect. And she has some good songs, but I was not a fan of her. But that show was one of the most amazing stuff that you've seen. Then, of course, you can have, I toured with Rammstein, of course, and Rammstein has, but that's more about all the freak stuff that every song has a new explosion somewhere, or we're gonna put the singer on fire, or we're gonna that's more about the things that you have to see just because of the show. For example, I hate Coldplay. I don't like Coldplay at all. Then we saw Coldplay live, and I was like, went in and saw with the bouncing balls, and I was like, okay, I understand it. This is really good live, but I don't understand it still as a song in that kind of sense. But they convinced me live, and that was kind of a thing. So of course there is moments when you more or less but then also when you work with artists and work over years, and then suddenly that moment comes when this show was the show of the highlight of their career, and you saw it because you have been touring with them or working with them for years, and you just know it is like, oh. So yeah, it could be also a special moment, but it could also be like an artist that's, hey, yeah. And then of course, but it's easier when you're liking something and then you're a super fan of the things. But, and then there are artists that knows the trade very well. I've done things with Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is like a professional out in the, she has her whole audience in her hands. If someone's screaming from the backside of the arena, Dolly, we love you, she will stop and say, I love you back, and then just keep on going. And you're like, how did she hear that? I didn't even hear it. And so you just get impressed with those kind of artists that, have the trade into it.
Mm-hmm. So if you could give just a little tip to not just emerging artists, but like artists in general. So it's not just about the music. The show is as important as the music they're presenting, right?
Everything is important. I think artists, sometimes they're just in for one thing. For example, an artist can be like, I'm just in for the looks. And then they forget about the live thing. And then they have artists that are just in for the live thing, but look like schmuck on stage, so that they forgot about that you have to have other things as well. It's not until everything is combined, it's going to be amazing. And that's the hard part for an artist. Is more or less like, it's not just your looks, it's the looks, the songs, the show, how you behave, how you're working with your team. It's a lot of things that has to click. And then you have, like Eminem says in the songs, if you get one chance, will you catch it or will you let it slip? Because that I've seen many times. It's like artists that you got the chance, but you let it slip. And it's all over. And it's that's tough.
And how big do you think the team of the artist has to be to come up with such an amazing show and the looks and everything? Do you think that the artists can come up with that by themselves, or they actually need other people? They need managers, they need PR, they need...
In the end of it, the artist doesn't know they don't know anything really. It's a sad thing to say, but it happens a lot of times. The core team will be just a few people, but those few people, it's like a pyramid game, more or less. It's like so when we worked with Major Laser's Lean On, I think the team was around 100 people around the world just for the streaming part. I don't want to know how many people they had on the touring part, on the record label, on the PR side and stuff like that. So it's a huge team. So most of the times they don't even know. We worked with a Swedish band. We're gonna put them onto South by, and we had to go hard on James Miner, who is here actually, to get them on, and my team worked as beasts to just get them in there, to just get those shows and getting the audience there. And then it was like a seminar with them a couple of years later, and I went. They don't know me. They didn't see me. They probably maybe saw me in the audience or someone who was running with something. But the question came up: how did you get to South by? And they were like, "Yeah, they just booked us, and then we got there." And you're like, "Come on!" They don't know how much we worked on that one. And that's the thing. It's a lot of things that. The artist has no knowledge about who's working behind it and who's doing it. And the thing is, like a movie set, you need to get all the people to work in the same direction. The director's job is to get everybody to work in the right direction. And since the artist has a lot of other things to do, they have to trust someone else to be the director. I mean, some actors can be the director and the main character in the movie, but it's tough.
One thing is money, because you probably can't do all of this without money. And how to get them, how to go from that. And the other thing I want to ask was that when you said that artists maybe don't realize how many people are behind some of the decisions, gratitude. What about gratitude? Is it somehow that when you see that the artist is cocky and not really appreciating all the work you're doing, that you just decide, well, I don't have to put up with this shit anymore?
There's many artist careers that has been gone by that.
Okay.
It goes very quickly in the industry. This artist is a shithead, if you say so. It's very common, and it's and that many careers probably has been stopped by their egos. I will take Taylor Swift as an example because my friend worked with Taylor Swift, and he was boss over country TV back then, and she got an award as the best country. This is early in her career. And she was like, "Okay, cool, I won." So she called him up and said, "Hey, I want to thank the channel for giving me the prize." And my friend said, "Yeah, sure, we can put up the board and you can go." No. I want to thank everybody. She came down and more or less thanked I think what he said was like 150 employees or something, like even the janitor. She went down and thanked them personally for her award, which she didn't have to do at all. But she also knew that this janitor was like, yeah, she came and thanked me. I did the work. So of course, every time she came back later on, she got treatment out of the ordinary. And that's what I'm telling most of my artists is like, yeah, but you should just be nice to everybody. If someone is a shithead, you just tell me. I can be the defense field behind this and go back and more or less like kick that out, take that off. So most of the times the nasty part is on to the manager and other things like that. But you should just be nice. And you can see that. I mean, if you're working with really, really, really big artists, they are always nice. The ones that are kind of pain in the ass is the upcoming ones before they have learned that, yes, you're not... There's always someone bigger than you. So it's that's again, and also you don't know who you're speaking to. You have no clue. It's so many cases that you're just standing there and just talking to someone. I have this amazing story when I was on a bus trip in Canada. I was on a showcase festival, and they had this bus trip, wine tasting tour. And it was this guy with crutches that had a little bit hard time to walk. So I helped him because I also have crutches, because I also have a hard time to walk sometimes. And when we got really, really drunk on that, and we had such fun. And just when the tour, we've been together probably for 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever. And in the end, just the last minute, I asked him, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm the booker of the biggest festival in the world. And I was like, yeah, my band is playing, this was after this, so my band was playing yesterday. Unfortunately, the problem is, no, I saw it. He said, like, oh, can you book it to the festival? And he's like, yeah, can we write this on a napkin? So we wrote the napkin really drunk. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to book the band. And he booked the band. And they opened up for Red Hot Chili Peppers. So you never know who you're speaking to. Yeah. and that's the thing of the whole industry. Same thing. I was on a showcase festival called CMJ. It doesn't exist any longer. And in the basement, in a corner, there was like this exhibition, and there was a little girl standing, and she had this kind of cool company. And I started talking to her and invited her to our band's show. She couldn't come, but her boss came, and more or less 5 years later, she was the one who's making the decisions for all the streaming on Universal. And today she's one of the most powerful women in the industry. And I know her from when she was more or less an intern, and that's my same thing with brands. I mean, my way into the big brands was through an intern that I met, and I was nice to the intern, so he kept my music coming along, and when he got the big names, he let it on. That's how it is. You have to realize that even if this person may be nothing right now, it might be the biggest thing ever in 2 years. You never know. You never know who you're speaking to. And also, sometimes you're speaking to big people that you don't know. I was booking a band for my festival, and they were like, yeah, we're coming over to Sweden. And I got them over. It was a hip-hop group from Taiwan. And they were like, yeah, sure. And they came over, and they played on this little shit club, and it was 100 people, hip-hop. And they sing in Cantonese, so it's like, it's not even. And I was good. And then I was in Taiwan, and they said, hey, you should come to our show. And I was like, cool, yeah, sure. I jumped into an Uber and come to the show, and they just dropped me off, and I was like, where's the gig place? Oh, it's the arena. Okay. Goes in, and they play in front of 65,000 people. They're the biggest band in the whole of the country. And I had them in a shit club in Sweden because I didn't know. And later on that week, they won Artist of the Year. And it was like, okay. So you never know. You definitely never know who you're speaking to. And that's one of the things in the industry. It's more or less like what you're seeing going up is what you meet when you're going down. Many artists forget about that. I like it when they don't know who I am also, because then they can actually, treat me snotty and stuff like that. It's good to know.
Well, that's kind of what we got into is that you actually have to have the web of contacts when you work in music industry, right?
Yeah.
So how can you say that someone's nice to you? Well, when they don't know who they're talking to, okay, that's one way. But if they know who they're talking to, how do you know who's just like fishing for contacts, who's actually being nice because they're a nicer person, and somebody who's just like pretending to be interested in you because they know what you're doing? Like, can you tell it apart?
I mean, most of the times it comes to you know when people. There's always this afraid that people are just fishing for contacts, but at the same time we are close to each other. So if someone starts fishing contacts, you can easily see that pretty quickly. And I mean, there's a and also sometimes people just do nice things because they want to do nice things, and that's also. I mean, this story has been around for. I mean, I don't know how many times I've told this, but I had how I got into it, how I got into the major industry, because I was just a small player. Okay, I started my own label. We were kind of a mid-sized label in Sweden with a couple of employees and stuff like that in the 90s, but we were not that big. And I got one day, we put our songs, of course, on MySpace. This is how old this is. So if no one knows what MySpace is, it was before Facebook.
I know
we had it on MySpace, and suddenly I got an email from this weird email address, like it's like rubberduck65@yahoo.com or whatever it was. Totally unserious thing, saying that, I like your songs. I want to put them into a commercial. And we were like, yeah, we own everything, so go ahead. Didn't hear anything from them. We thought. Then 2 years later, I think it was 2 years, and he suddenly comes back. Oh, it's me again. I placed it. We were like, okay, cool. But I can't tell what it is, because it's a big thing. So you need to sign those and the paperwork first. And we were like, this is weird. And we were totally into that. This is a scam. This is probably something weird with this, because the artist was not so active any longer, and the song was kind of old. They sent back, we signed the papers, and then it came like, yeah, but here's the contract, and it was like this legal paper, I don't know, like 40, 50 pages with legal stuff, American legal stuff, so you need a lawyer to look at this. And so my lawyers in Sweden were more or less like, yeah, that's legal American, you need an American lawyer. So then I thought this is going to be like, yeah, they're going to charge me for the lawyer, and then they're just going to disappear and steal the money. So we said, so they told us, yeah, we can fix a lawyer for you. And I was like, yeah, and take the money from the lawyer, from the fee, and they said, yeah, we can do that. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And so they did that. The paperwork went through, and then this, I heard, this is also like stupid, because we heard when we're doing these kind of big deals, the Americans always pay with check. And if you get a check, you have to get to the bank, you have to have a security before the check goes through. So my friend did it with Disney, and he had to more or less like put a loan to his house to get the check going. So it's very complicated. So, and I knew about this. So when they said, how are we going to pay you? I was more or less like, yeah, you could do bank transfer. Without knowing that bank transfer is, back in the days in USA, was not that easy. But they said, okay. And it took like a week, and then more, and they called me up and said, has the money arrived? And I was like, no. And it took another half week, and they called me again and said, the money has arrived? No. And the third time, he caught me on a bad day probably, but he called me up and said, have the money arrived? And I was like, no, show me the money. Exactly like Tom Cruise did. And I threw on the phone. And because I was a little bit tired, because it's like, it didn't go anywhere really. And then the next morning I looked on the bank account, and it was like so much money that it actually drove the company forward for 4 years. That's how much money it was. And I was like, okay, the money's on my account. They can't take it. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. And so I was, so of course I understood this is real. And it was a huge brand as well that got it. And the guy called me up later. It's like, okay, now I realize this is real. So he said, hey, I can do some other things for you. I have some contacts in the business. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we can meet in New York. I was like, yeah, let's fly into New York. And we fly in and landed there. And I got up to the hotel, and we're going to meet. And I realized, for God's sake, I don't know who this is. He has this ridiculous email address. And I don't, and his name is just a random name, more or less, like, you know, Bob Pearson or whatever. So you can't really look him up. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know anything. But he gave me a couple of, quite a lot of money. And in comes this guy, and before that, he also asked me, "What do you want? What cool things do you want? What introductions do you need?" And back in the day, then I had a band that wanted to get into Wind Up. Wind Up was the coolest independent label, and it was like 2 years waiting time to get a meeting with them if you didn't know them. So I was on the list. So I was more or less like, I wonder if we can do this. I told him, it's like, I want a meeting with Wind Up because of this band. Okay, sure. And then this is 2008 somewhere, Lady Gaga just broke through. So I said, I want to meet with the guy who did Lady Gaga. Okay. And then I said, just take random cool stuff that you think I should meet. And we come to New York, the guy shows me around, we goes up to Wind Up. To make this short, we had, instead of having a meeting with the head A&R, we had a meeting with the owner. That's how big it was. And it worked fine. And the second one we went to see Rob Fosari, which is the manager of Lady Gaga, the one who later broke up with, and more or less all the nasty songs comes from. That was him. And then he also showed me Roundhouse. We were probably one of the first visitors to Roundhouse, and now Roundhouse is one of the biggest publishers in the world. So I realized this guy is well connected in somehow. So in the end, after we doing all these meetings, we said like, let's go eat. And we sat down and I said like, who are you? And he was like, well, I'm working in the industry. It's like, yeah, I know the name and I can't find anything on it. So who are you? And he's like, yeah, but and I was like, oh, tell me, because you don't get these meetings normally. He's like, okay. I'm a manager. I work with some big acts, but I'm gonna more or less retired right now. I've done it for years, but I want to pass it on. And I was like, okay. What's the big act? And he's like, he didn't want to tell me, but I was like, in the end, I was pushing. I was like, okay, I'm part of the Metallica's team, so I'm part of Metallica's managers. And he said, like, but I was like, but why me? There's nobody from Sweden I maybe have a good catalog of bands, but and he says like, no one has ever told me, show me the money. Phone like that. I like the attitude. I'm gonna help you 1 year to get into anything you want, anything you need. You just tell me. I will open the door. And that happened as well. He actually opened the doors for one. Then he retired. Now he's working with Alice Cooper or whatever. And he just did it because he liked me. He didn't have any things to do with it. He just did it because he's a nice person. That's it. And that's opened up so I can get into anyone I want. If I like, I want to meet him with that person. 2 phone calls later, he was like, "You meeting that person that time?" So it opened up a network of a lot of people, which I could build on. So that's how I got my career, to more or less getting the networks, and then I started working in the showcase industry, and more. I was the person to go to get the big names, more or less. And we end up in situations. Nowadays, it's kind of funny because most of the people that I met is like interns, and now they are head of whatever. But that's also part of it. It's like, you have to meet people when they're small, make them some favors, and then keep them going to get where you are. So yeah, this is exactly, you don't know who you're talking to, really. And you don't know the agenda behind them. They do things.
And I'm thinking, were you ever scammed? Like, did anyone ever try to maybe pretend that they're somebody else and try to get you to do something that they wanted you to do or something? I
mean, of course, it happens today as well. People like... strange people. The other day, not so long ago, it was like some manager just called me up and was like, "Hey, I have a band. Can you get them into Reeperbahn?" And I was like, "It's Reeperbahn in 2 weeks? Crazy!" It's like, and why should I do that? It's like, why should I go? Of course, I know the guys and girls on Reeperbahn, but why? It's impossible to get anything going in 2 weeks. Second of all, why should I do it? And even if you paid me a hell of a lot of money, that's going to just destroy my connections to them. So I don't. So people sometimes think that, or I've done this so many times. There was one that, "Oh, I'm booked to South by. Can you book like extra shows?" And it's like, for what? So yes, you can see that people think that can just do you a favor, but it depends on what it is, and also. I might have not. I help people just because I sometimes like people, but it's more when it comes to clearly when it's like, you can hire me to do this. Why should I just do it for you? But that's mainly smaller people that actually don't understand how it works, and they don't understand, the things around it. I mean, most of the time, sometimes it's people that you've been friends with years, and then suddenly everything align. So I was sitting next to Adam right now from Electric Castle, and I met Adam several times. I know Adam. It's just that I never had an artist that fits his bill, but maybe one day I will, and then this will be much easier to talk to him because he knows me. So it's not that I'm gonna sit and try to sell in something just for me, that my art is gonna be good on Electric Castle. Of course it would, but instead of having, so he actually makes something out of it and me make something out of it, then it happens. And people sometimes doesn't understand it. It's like, so especially when my showcase festival, people comes to like, we should play on your show. It's like, why? And that's part. So yes, people try to scam sometimes, but But you can see that there's a lot of people that come, what we call fasters. They go fast in and go fast out. There's a bunch of those. You can see them rise and then they disappear. The ones that keep on going, they are more important.
Okay, and as you were saying in the beginning, how many bands you see a year? I was thinking, maybe do you do your research about the bands, or do you go randomly to places and just see them? Do you actually read reviews? Do you ever just go to Pitchfork or Rolling Stone and do you read about?
No, we would never. I would never. I mean, no, I won't. I won't read reviews. It's not important for me because I'm also a journalist myself, so I know exactly how that works. And most of the times it can be favors and other things like that. So I've written hundreds and hundreds of reviews. I have my own radio station for a while. I have my own radio show, and so I know exactly. It is favors and it's all the kind of things, and doesn't. But so just because you got a review in Clash magazine doesn't say, I mean, that's good for you, nice. And I might read it but it doesn't affect me in that kind of sense, because I know it depends. It's so many other factors, and also what artists should know is that I can ask around. I can ask around so quickly nowadays, because when I go into your LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, I easily see who we are connected to, and if that manager knows them, that's okay, that booker, okay, there's 2 emails, hello, have you seen this band before? Okay, they're shitheads, okay, I should not touch them, okay, right. Right now, and also I can see that, for example, or you go into LinkedIn, it's like, okay, these people are following you, and it's all these small crazy people, and you're like, okay, I don't want to touch this. So you can see from which area they are from, which kind of industry behind them. It's so easy now. It was much harder when I started, when the social media was not around. Today I can back check you so much, and knowing so much about you, and I know sometimes the no is already in before you even ask. That's the thing. And I mean, I can take an example. Just 24 hours ago, it was a band from Italy that's like, hello, we want to be booked to your festival. It's like, we have a proposition, and can we just have a phone call so we can discuss our proposition? And it's like, here is the thing. It's like, I already see on the picture, you're 10 people. I'm going to fly 10 people from Italy. And no other songs has been played more than 1,000 times on Spotify. There's only 244 followers on YouTube. Just looking to, and none of the videos have more than 100 views. I can tell you already from here, there's no fan base in Sweden. There's nothing. Why should I take, and also they played music that was like not even attractive. So just here I can see that what's happening with that, which people don't understand in the industry, is that I won't answer. Suddenly it's people say, look, I don't get any answers. Yeah, because I don't want to say, I would love to, I sometimes it does, but I should not, but schmuckheads, put down your balls and land. This is not gonna go anywhere. But in the industry, you don't want to burn any, so it's much easier to just shut up and doesn't say anything, because you don't know, maybe they are big stars, because even I didn't like them, but the thing is that their strategy right now was not the smartest in the world. I mean, they're trying to do things that was above their head. Maybe they learn, and maybe they go forward, and maybe in 5 years they're super big band that I need to work with, so I probably won't answer. It's easier to say, and they didn't say, no, we emailed you, but you didn't get, it ended up in the spam, So the industry is that way, and it's more or less like a non-answer is also also an answer. That's how you see it.
Okay, and how did you even get into writing about music? Like, were you such a fan that you just want to get out the experience you had from the concerts, or why did you start to write reviews?
I had to, because they put me into it.
Was it for the free tickets?
No, it's not true that I actually started. This is a lie. I started the record label when I was. It says 15, so you were totally correct. But in reality, I started when I was 13 years old. I was very, very young. My mom had to lend me the organization number because I wasn't even allowed to have a company. So I worked in the music industry for 10 years, and then I was so tired of it because it was so. Back then it was mainly old dudes. I was the young kid. Now I'm the old dude, and so in 2000 I more or less left the industry, started working in the movie industry. And so I did that for 1 year, and then between jobs, I got another job on the first, more or less like streaming. It was a downloading site called Vitaminic, and Vitaminic had part of the thing on the site, because it needs to happen things on the site, even if you could buy MP3s back then. You had to have content, so I became part of the content team. Later on, I started a blog that became, because where I actually wrote about these kind of stuff, and it became very, very popular. I also had a blog for a while where I actually reviewed everybody, and if it was a good thing, I just wrote, "Oh, this is good," and if it was bad, I was just writing the hell of it out, and people loved it, and people was just sending me stuff just to me, being mean, reviewing it like really harsh. But so I got jobs for different magazines to write blogs, or like columns about the music industry, what's happening, because I also go to everything, so I hear quite a lot about the rumors and what's going on for the moment. So I still have it. Musichelpblog.com is actually where you find, but I haven't been that active nowadays because I've been locked into contracts that I couldn't say everything, but I'm out of the contracts right now, so now I can say everything, so now maybe it should happen things. At the same time, yeah, so that's why I became a journalist, more or less like that, and writing. But I can tell you that, yeah, so when I wrote, and then we started the radio station during the COVID and stuff like that, the whole of that business is more or less favors and connections. It has nothing to do. I'm not allowed to write. This sucks, really. Because this came from the editor. We're gonna do this with this and this and this. And you can see that nowadays, with when you're sending in to Submit Hub or anything like that, they rather say no than writing something bad or doesn't say anything at all. The only time they write is when they like something, because that's the only thing that's gonna be on there anyway. So the bad reviews is gone, and maybe I should start it again. The bad review site, like, yeah, I'm gonna crush your music things. So yeah. No. Do I love music? Yeah, I don't know if I do. I still, yes, I still love music in one way, but it's like also it becomes a job, so it's kind of jaded sometimes. And nowadays also, when you're working with music that you might not even like, it's a job. You shuffling papers, you do.
Yeah, but the mean publicist, that's quite a cool name. You could be like a Superman, but mean publicist. You can get a t-shirt with that.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that also now it's like, I was thinking the other day, maybe I should be an artist myself, because with AI I can. And I would think myself now I'm thinking high on myself, that I would actually do everything right because I know everything. And if I started a project, there's so many people that I know that will support this. It's gonna be ridiculous. So I could probably put up a Superman suit and just do ridiculous songs and go for showcasing, and more or less, and suddenly I became famous. And having a career, I probably could do it. But do I want to? No, I don't think so.
Oh my God, but you could really be a superstar, because nobody would write a bad review about you, because nobody would dare.
They would write bad review. The thing though is that I have too many friends that would help me. Yeah. There would be like friends that, oh yeah, Peter has a career. Wait, I will just for the things help me out. That's what I would be scared of, because I have people in places where they can easily put me somewhere. But at the same time, would I like to be an artist? I mean, I know. Have you seen my social media? And probably not seen it. But I have every year I post a T-shirt that's never printed, but I should print it actually. That says, "I tour more than your band tour." which is my world tour, and then it's all the showcase festivals I'm going to, which is more touring than most of my bands are touring, which annoys them. Which I was like, yeah, this is so everybody says that if you ever print that T-shirt, I will have one of those T-shirts. I tour more than your band tour.
Well, that would be definitely a fun chapter of your life if you just went on a world tour supporting Taylor Swift or someone and just go and play as an artist.
But the thing is that I wouldn't know how to do it exactly correct. The sad part is that my music probably will be shitty because not shitty because I know what a good song is. I'm pretty good on picking songs, but I would probably do it for AI, and it's like it's losing the value. I mean, it's going to be like a fake artist, but it's not a fake artist, but it is a fake artist. But we have been speaking about it really just for the hell of it, because most of my friends is also musicians or ex-musicians, and they're really good. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have a tour. We just go out and have fun for a while and doing the right thing. And of course, we would end up on the biggest festivals because we know the bookers. Of course, we would. But do I want it? I'm not so sure.
Then we could also talk about the definition of the good music and bad music, because so many times some artists came up with like new ideas and people were just like, oh, this is weird, we don't like it, and then it somehow just became mainstream or something. So maybe you can be part of that if you wanted to. You can come up with, because when you're saying that you're not quite sure if it would be a good music or not, maybe it'd be a new genre.
Yeah, but the thing is that nothing is good music. Music is only what you recognize. So it's about getting into social attachments. A good song is not, I mean, you can write the best song ever, but if you just put it in your drawer and nothing doing it, it's not going to go anywhere. Was it a good song? Technically, yes, but it was not out there. So it's all about social attachment, and that's why you can get songs like Crazy Frog or Last Ketchup or whatever, because it's you get into social attachment that people are playing it when. So I worked with a band called Takida. You'd never heard of them. They were from Sweden. They're like the Nickelback of Sweden. Everybody hates them.
Okay.
And it's, to be frank, honest, they are kind of a mid. Yeah, they sound a little bit like Nickelback, and they are like mid thing. The thing is though that they took a strategy that they're gonna play on smaller, places, villages where nothing happens. So they come there and nothing happens, and of course a band is playing, everybody goes down to the local pub, whatever it was they're playing, and of course boy meet girls, it happens things, you fall in love, and they play that song, and suddenly it becomes their song. So even if the band was kind of mediocre, they became big, and all the journalists hated them. They got like 0 or 1 in reviews all the time. And in the end, it became so big that they actually can do a concert in Stockholm, and they have one of the bigger arenas. It's just that everybody that went to that concert, no one in from Stockholm, because that was a big city, they didn't know them. So everybody came in, so it became a parking problem because so many people came in with cars, because everybody of their fans came from these small villages. And they loved it. So they were more or less like, yes, it's like the hillbilly community loved them. And they became the biggest artists. They are still big artists. But it's more or less, yeah, if you listen to them, people will look strange at you. But it has to do with social attachment, because yes, you fell in love while one of their songs is playing. So one of the things we did as an experiment was, when I was a kid, we were doing this carnival thing for our school, and so for 1 week we were building the cars, all the things, the props. And what we did was to playing 2 songs the whole time for the whole 48 hours, like 24 hours in 7 days. It was only 2 songs, and one was like the biggest hit for the moment, and one was just a silly song. Even today, in the end of it, on the 7th day, you hated those songs so much. You don't want to hear them any longer. But if you play them today, and most of my friends, we went together for a party this summer, and I just knew all of them, and just put that song on, and everybody had a smile on their face, because we remember working on those 7 days. So it became a social attachment. So you need to listen to a song 5 times to become familiar with it. If you also can add that on to a social attachment or a feeling. So for example, in Titanic, when my heart will go on, it's like when he's sinking there and all of that, they're standing in the front, and it's attachment that you feel something. If you can get that, then you can get any song to become a hit, really. Even if it's Crazy Frog, even if it's Lost Ketchup, even if it's, Macarena. It's like... because what's happened in the old days was that radio and other things like made all the people to listen to the same song. So you got this massive thing. We don't know if that's going to happen in the future because it's so many channels. But inside a little community, you could do it. Like you can, if I would have a festival where we have like where everybody's going to be, I would play the same 2 songs over and over again just to make them. So we did an experimental on the Showcase Festival 2 weeks ago where I did a song on AI. You can actually find it. You can go on look for the artist Call My Manager, which is also a funny name story, but which we did a song called Castellón, and that's what we did is that's promoting that to just all the VIPs for the festival. So in the end of it, people became a little bit like, they know the song because they've heard it so many times. Because we forced them to listen to it 5 times. And in the end of it, they actually played it in the club during my panel. So here you have the experimental, how we can actually get things going. Same thing with my TikTok channel is also one of probably people knows because I'm doing reviews of sodas on my TikTok channel, which is also an experimental channel for my team to check on social media, how it works, especially on TikTok, trends and how, So we don't want to destroy any artist accounts. So most people, so when I landed here, Camilla was nice enough to have a new soda in the car. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm just thinking that if you want to become big and you're a small emerging band, you just need a boombox and just walk around the street and just play your song
more or less. More or less, but I wouldn't do that. What I would do is actually sneak it into all your parties, and every 5th song is your song anyway. So in that party, if you have a nice party, it's in the background, but people are kissing, people are drinking wine and stuff like that. You get a social attachment to it. Yes, that's how it works. But of course, then you have to do it in 100 times to make it really happen. But yeah, if you can do that, yes, sure. That was the strength of the commercial back in the days when you did commercials, that people saw them so many times that they get stuck into your head. It doesn't work any longer because it's too many channels and the algorithms pick what you should see. So it doesn't do that well any longer. But back in the days, yes.
Yes, but this actually happened to me, that I was at the house party and there was this artist called Met213, which is a Czech artist. And he was like, I have a really good song, I'm going to put it on. And he put it on himself. And he did this on every party. Now he's got 2 music awards.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, literally it is that what is a good song? A good song is just a song that is promoted.
Yeah, he was just putting it on himself all
but
over again.
Then of course, I mean, all songs are not good enough to be stuck anyway. I mean, it's much easier if you have something that stuck into your brain. Sure, it is. There are people that are good on making hooks, but to be honest, the AI is pretty good on making hooks. So if you're not good at making hooks, you can ask the AI to make the hookiest song and then steal it from it, more or less, or making a cover out of it. So nowadays, you even have the tools to make it a hit song. But I mean, there are people like Per Gessle from Roxette. He's phenomenal to make those small things that puts into your head. And one of the problem with an artist, the most problem you have, if an artist really sucks, that's good because then you remember it. If the artist is really good, then you remember. If you're just okay, that's the problem. Because if you're just okay, then you're just okay. And that's the hardest thing to get out. And unfortunately, that's the most of the artists are okay. They're not bad. They're not good. That's... Mm-hmm.
And especially with you, as you saw so many bands, you can't really say that they...
Oh, yeah. So most of the bands, they think that they're the next God's gift to music, but they're not. It's not going to happen anything, really. And I think that's the main problem, and they don't realize it because it's the same thing with sport. I mean, one of my best friends, he was the best guy ever on tennis in the area and in the region actually. Did he become a tennis star? Definitely not, because when he came out to the national level, he was only like 5, and then into the European level, he was probably number 50 in the world. I don't know, 765, whatever. And this is the thing that, yeah, you might be the best band in your village. That's probably true. But can you conquer the main city, and can you conquer the capital of this country? Then it's a totally different story. Yes. And also nowadays, when people are so busy with different things, it's like it's not easily impressed. You can't really, and a lot of things has been done as well. So it's not putting a dinosaur on the stage dancing. I've seen that a couple of times. It's not that unusual actually.
I love it. I love dinosaurs on the stage.
Yeah. There's a dinosaurs band called the Dinosaurs from Taiwan that has dinosaur songs about. All songs are about dinosaurs, like "All My Friends Are Dead" and stuff like that. And they have dinosaurs floating around, blow up dinosaurs in the audience, and they have a dinosaur mask. They never take off the dinosaur masks. This is kind of interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna check it.
When you work in an industry and it becomes a little bit too much, then the things like that, you're like, oh.
Let me just check it for the bizarre.
Well, it sounds pretty okay, but I don't think it's gonna blow up in that kind of sense. I don't know. Maybe it does.
Maybe after this podcast, maybe everybody's gonna search it.
Everyone's going to search the dinosaurs now.
Anyhow, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, our time is up, but thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the
the music
conference.
week.
Yes, music week. Thank you so much. I completely forgot where we at.
Yes, Prague Music Week. That's the thing.
Thank you. Have a good day. And thank you for listening.
You're listening to Echoes of Prague Music